Hey, today I want to show you some mending techniques for knitted fabrics. This video I'm going to show you a woven method technique. So it looks like this when it's done. You got a little woven patch. I've also done it here on the other sock. My spouse loves these socks and wears them to bits, so I keep patching them. In the last video tutorial I did this duplicate stitch method. You can find that in my profile. But today we're going to do the woven method. So I would like to introduce you to my mending kit here. I have this lovely bag to keep everything together. This comes with a darning egg and a spring tension hoop, a binder clip, actually this little magnifying lens, which comes in handy when we're doing the t-shirt mending, which is another video, and this little case full of goodies. So this case comes with some fingering weight yarn in fun colors for darning. You can use this to darn commercial sweaters, or you can use this to darn hand knits, either way. An elastic, some of these little stitch markers that can be used to hold the loops when you find a repair that needs to be made before you actually get around to making it. So this is for somewhat larger loops, and then these ones are for smaller ones, like maybe in a commercial sweater. I also give you a needle. There's a needle in here, a little sharp one, and a bent tip needle in two different sizes, so the large one and the medium one. Okay, so let's put some of this away and talk about when to use this technique. So with some other techniques, if you have, like with the duplicate stitch method, if you still have a tracery of the original knitting, or you can see that it's just one row that's been blown out that's missing, that's a good time to use the duplicate stitch method. When you have a big gaping hole like this, so let me actually get my hand in here so you can see how big this hole is. So this is kind of a large hole, and this thread has actually undone itself from the rows above it and below it. So we're just gonna do a whole woven patch all over it so that we don't have to worry about trying to find where each of those loops goes. So if you were doing this, so when you're doing this on a little tube like this, like a sock, that's when the darning egg and the elastic and the binder clip come in handy. If you're talking about doing this repair on like a sweater, so this sweater does not need a repair, but I'm going to just use it to demo. That's when you would use the spring tension hoop. So I would stick this hoopy bit underneath, kind of center where I need the repair. So actually, for visual effect, let me stick this through some stitches and we'll pretend that I caught a repair that needs to be made. Okay, so say this is our busted part. I would take the spring tension hoop with the metal part underneath, and get this a little better centered in the camera, and then put this on top, and then what I'm doing down here is I'm squeezing these metal parts here. So squeezing these metal parts makes the circle smaller so that it can slip inside the channel in the plastic, okay? So I'm going to take the metal part underneath, plastic on top, and just squeeze until the metal part pops into the channel in the plastic. So from here, then you could do the same kind of repair. You could do, all your woven method, you could do your duplicate stitch method, you could do any of them. The hoop just gives you basically a somewhat tensioned canvas so that everything around it is stable, and you've got clear sailing back here to make sure you don't catch anything else. Okay. But today we're doing this repair on a sock, so you need the darning egg, and we're going to drop that little bugger into the sock. And I'm going to take, let's see, I think I want to do this sideways. So I'm keeping the egg in here like lengthwise so that I have more coverage underneath it. But I'm going to take the binder clip and open it up and actually use it to anchor these together, okay? Because I want to keep the hole under tension on top of the egg. It doesn't have to be big tension. And I'm going to use the elastic as well to ensure that this egg doesn't slip out the side. So the binder clip basically is intended to keep all your stuff taut around the egg, and then the elastic keeps your egg into the tube. Okay, so let's see, what thread do I want to use for this one? I think, oh yeah. I want to use this one. Okay, so this is a somewhat bigger repair, so I'm going to get myself probably a couple of feet of yarn split off. Okay, and because this is a fine weight yarn on the original piece, I'm going to use the smaller darning needle. Okay, and I'm only going to use one thickness of thread. And yet again, I have done this. I always put the, I always do this. I always put the all the stuff on before I put the thread through. So let's talk for a second about where I want to put this repair. It needs to start wide enough that it encompasses all of the thinned and broken stitches, and low enough to do that as well. So let's start with, actually I think I want to start with here. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring my yarn through and make sure that I've got a sufficient tail end in here to weave back through. Okay, now I'm going to anchor this with my binder clip and my elastic. Okay, and just make sure I don't catch my thread in there. And if you don't want to embed your thread first, you can actually you can keep it to the outside and then just pull it back in. So like you could start it down here and then come up where you want, and then just pull that extra thread into the inside when you're ready to weave in ends. Okay, so I'm going to follow this column all the way up to above the problem and jump over a little bit, and then follow column all the way back down and come through and jump over. So right now I'm making, in what weaving parlance would be the warp of the woven bits, okay? And actually I think I need them closer than that. Let's see. Yeah, I think I want it there. And then come up here. And trying to follow that line that I designated at the bottom here to go across, and keep on the line above. Okay. So you can see we're kind of snugging this up as I go. And what I'm doing is ensuring that I catch at least every column of stitches so that it can't go anywhere. So even if the stitches underneath decide to start unraveling, there's nowhere for them to go. Oops, there we go. Those are a little close together. Sorry. Okay, we're getting close to this other side here. And catch you. And up here. And so I kind of jumped down here. That's not the end of the world. We'll make it work. Because, you know, it's darning. You're already fixing something that got broken. So don't stress it. Okay. So I would say that's a good, you know, set of verticals. I'm actually going to go down here to start. Okay. So now I'm going to go over and under each of these threads. There we go. So in order, I'm going over, under, over, under, over, under. So that I'm weaving through here. Okay, so that's my first line of what we would consider the weft in weaving parlance. I want to make sure that this comes down. Okay, and I'm going to anchor it along the side here with some catch stitches. And then alternate the other direction, over, under, so that you can see that any of the stitches that I went under before are now I'm going over. To make this solid weave structure. I'm just trying to keep working at an even tension. Okay. This little one is being a bitch. Okay. And so I'm going to get past this other one and anchor. And then we'll do some more. So you just go back and forth like this, making sure that you catch every thread either over or under, according to the patterning. Somebody's doing something very crinkly in the studio. Come on, you. Sometimes you gotta pull through in the meantime so you can get a better grip. Okay. So let's see, that needs to be a little snugger. Okay, so I'm pulling this a little snug. I stretched it over the darning egg a little to ensure that I had extra space to be able to pull it snug. So I'm kind of trying to keep the fabric around it from being too distorted around the repair. Oh God, it would help if I did this on camera. Okay, so I'm just going back and forth. And catching along the same line. And you can use your needle to kind of push your weft threads down, make them all snug. Here's my tail end actually. It's embedded inside, so. Okay, so now I'm gonna go the other direction, over, under, over, under. Okay, catch over here, and then proceed. Doing this and trying to keep it on camera is a little tricky. Is there another one in there? There is. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Catch you. Okay. And so when I jumped down on this side, I kind of missed some stuff. So we're going to do one last bit of thread that goes under these last few vertical threads. So like this part of the patch is now done. So from here I'm going to go here and here and here and here, back and forth until it's done. So you can see that when we started it looked really sloppy. We had some extra fabric in the vertical threads, or extra yarn in the vertical threads, and that's fine because it does a little bit of tensioning here. As you work the horizontal threads, you pull the vertical threads tighter as they move over and under each other. So, okay, so now I'm going to, when you get to the end, sometimes it can be really helpful to just like pass over one and then scoop under the next thread and do it in stages of 2 threads instead of adding them all over your needle. This one's hiding. There we go. Okay, so now we're back to where I said we were done with that part of the patch, right? So I'm going to catch a thread here to bring me up to the next level and not go all the way over here because this part's done. Okay, so we're getting close. I'm just going to go probably one more row. Over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and over, and anchor. Okay, so here's our finished patch. Let's take this all off. Drop my egg out. I got a nice coverage here. And, you know, this patch, when you wash it, it'll kind of shrink down a little bit. Not a lot, but it'll kind of even out. Okay, so let's look at the inside of the patch. So you can see that all those threads that were loose are still there. At this point, everything around it is anchored. You could snip some of them out. I'm just gonna leave them because I don't need to snip them. But if you like a really, really clean inside, or like if you're repairing something that is gonna have like a thumb going through it all the time, that's generally helpful. So actually I'm gonna, now that I think about it, I don't really want Sid to catch that with his toe, so. Okay, so now I'm going to weave in these ends just like we did before. And actually, if you want to use these ends to kind of anchor the loose bits to the patch, you can do that too. Just making sure everything is snug here. It's all controlled. And then, yeah, weave it in a little bit. Do my diagonals. Oops. Ah, I lost it. Okay. And snip it. Then we'll do the other one. Go through some of this excess. I'm going to kind of grab this bit. There we go. Okay. So it's not, you know, pretty on the inside, but it works. Okay. So there's our repair. I really like the way that this repair looks on commercial sweaters. So it gives it a little more rustic kind of patch looking finish, but you can use it on a, you know, fine gauge commercially knit sweater and just, you know, catch threads that are roughly the distance of your mending thread between. So, okay. So we've got multiple patches here. I think next time these socks blow out might be time to give them a new life as something else. We've also patched here in the toe. Yep. Well-loved socks. Thanks for joining me.